If you're a frequent PNW Haunts and Homicides listener, you probably already know we're Birdie ambassadors.
We wanted to take a quick moment to tell you a little bit more about this awesome product.
Birdie is the modern personal safety alarm made for women by women.
In a situation where you feel threatened or unsafe, you can simply activate Birdie's loud siren and flashing light to create a diversion.
Birdie is perfect to carry anytime because the device is lightweight and comes in a variety of colors.
So important. Use our ambassador link and coupon code PNW Haunts and Homicides to receive 10% off your purchase. Like our social media handles, the coupon code is all spelled out, no special characters.
You can find the link and promo code in our show notes or PNW Haunts and Homicides link tree. Have a safe-ass day!
Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
This is PNW Haunts and Homicides.
Hi, creepy people.
Hello.
Hi, Patreon creepy people. Doing our Patreon tarot read video.
Yeah, I am just really hoping that this torrential wind and rain, I'm just crossing my fingers that it's not like totally overwhelming in the recording.
I think it'll be fine, but it's kind of like added special effects.
Yeah.
Like we added the PNW.
It's very
vibe.
on brand, I have to admit.
We're in the middle of a rain/wind storm.
Yeah, we actually had a large decorative article fall over on our patio, and it shattered into 1,000,000 pieces.
Ew.
So, yeah. I mean, not that I'm going outside today particularly, but
Well, I am,
Yeah.
and I gotta drive in this shit.
yeah,
It's awful. Also, Oregonians don't know how to drive. FYI,
it's a problem in the rain sometimes.
I know it's like it rains here 24/7. Like, why do you not know how to drive in the rain?
I feel like you should be able to handle this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna start our tarot reading for Caitlin's case for just a little more insight into the case.
As one does.
I'm gonna focus my energy and shuffle.
Cut damn cards.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, that was a big cut.
It was.
Deep cuts.
Ooh. Okay.
Once again, reversed.
Yeah, in the reverse, because always.
We have the Hermit in reverse. And it is a woman in like a shawl situation. Yeah. She's opening what looks like a laptop, I want to say. She's kind of got her hand
Well,
up.
it is a modern witch tarot deck.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know.
The Hermit. I like really resonate with this card. The Hermit.
Oh, this has a pretty long description. I'm going to read all of this because I feel like, especially when it doesn't have the reverse interpretations in this smaller book, I feel like sometimes it's helpful to get the full description of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Through solitude, we can discover new things about ourselves. The Hermit has shrugged off material and superficial concerns and distractions and has retreated to an inner sanctum. I feel like that's the definition of being a hermit.
Yes.
She's taken a break from the outside world to focus on herself. The glowing star is the guiding light of her unconscious mind and a pathway to a breakthrough. The laptop is the support of learned wisdom and knowledge to help her along her journey. It can also be a special skill that helps the hermit cope with being alone. And it goes on to say, it's okay to be alone. Silence and meditation can help you explore your own inner worlds and lead you to new places. There's so many constant distractions that can keep you from focusing on your own self-care, from social media to job stresses to FOMO. It's time to take a break from it all, to retreat to a place that makes you feel safe with the goal of improving yourself. Don't ignore your own mental well-being, and if you need a teacher, a guide, or a therapist to help you along the way, that's okay. Don't be afraid of being alone. Oh, okay. All right. I'm seeing some stuff already. Yikes.
Interesting. I don't know anything about the case. But.
Yeah, I know. As per usual, I just sit here and like act like, woo. And you're like, I know nothing. So, oh, this is another frustrating one where it doesn't really seem to give us like a lot for the reverse.
Really?
Yeah, I don't love that.
Google knows.
Okay. The Hermit Tarot card reversed suggests that you have withdrawn too much from the world or are becoming too reclusive. Solitude might have been necessary or good for you at one point, but the Hermit reversed is telling you that it is time to come back to the world and the people around you. Okay. Charles, hush it.
There's like a relationship reading about it. I don't know if that applies to
Interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear that because there's definitely a connection to a romantic relationship with this case that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this says, in a relationship reading, the Hermit reverse can indicate unwelcome isolation. For example, one person may want to be alone or withdraw from the relationship while the other wants to deepen the connection. You will need to respect each other's request for the space, but also be there to support as appropriate.
Okay, I think I've got enough here to...
Okay.
I think I know where this is going to like kind of play in with the case. Okay.
Cool.
We bid you adieu.
Bye, Patreon. Bye. We're still here. Don't worry. We didn't go anywhere.
Gotta get another gulp of wine in because this is... Okay. So I wanted to start this one off. I know we don't do a ton in terms of like trigger warnings per se, because I feel like people generally know that the content of our show, especially for my episodes, I would say it can be, you know, content that's a little bit disturbing at times. But I do, I wanted to point out that with this one, if any discussion around fertility or childhood sexual abuse is a sensitive topic for you, this may be a good one to just kind of proceed with caution. Or if you don't feel comfortable, we're really going to try to not go super deep on either of these. They do play in the case though. And so if that's not something that you feel like you're ready to tackle today, come back another day or skip this one. We love you just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
Yes. All right. So we were talking about this right before we started recording. The only thing Cassie knows about this case is that for some freakish reason, I found another Teresa.
Weird.
I know. And it's really hard to gauge like one criminal against another, right?
Yeah.
You know, both bad. But there are some truly wild aspects of this case.
Ooh.
And I think this is going to be a two-parter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So there's going to be some extra, there's going to be an opportunity for our Patreon listeners to get the full content released at the same time. And then for the regular stream, you guys are going to get a little bonus episode, but you're going to have to wait for it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about another Teresa.
Okay, I am ready.
There is no ready for this case.
From the last one, I'm not sure if I'm actually ready, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay.
I don't know what is happening with the Teresas of the world, but they be wildin'.
Yeah. Calm down. No.
Yeah, seriously, take all of the chill pills. Don't worry, you can't overdose. Mostly because they're made up. So, Teresa Gaethe-Leonard was living in New Orleans when she met Chuck in 1988 at age 27. She was an attractive young woman with green eyes and strawberry blonde hair.
Ooh.
And a thin frame at about 5'6". So basically, I'm describing myself, except much taller and much thinner. That's okay. I don't want to be similar to her at all.
No, you don't.
Through the course of my research, I did take note of some comments that were made about her appearance. According to nearly every account, she wasn't unattractive, though she did have certain features that it would become evident later obviously troubled her, which I think is kind of sad, in a way, because I feel like we do come to find that she probably was a little bit self-conscious about her appearance, and it didn't sound like she had any real reason to be.
Aww.
So, yeah. She spent a great deal of time on her hair, makeup, clothes, and she always kept her nails painted bright red.
Ooh, always red.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I don't have time for that.
I can barely do it one day a week, and my nails are not painted.
Yeah, I feel like the whole keeping up my fingernails or my toenails, it just went out the window as soon as COVID hit the scene.
Y'all don't want to see my toes. They are, I painted them for Halloween, but I did it in September because we went on a trip to like celebrate Halloween. So like they're still the Halloween toenails.
Oh,
they
I
are black
like
and
it.
orange, and they are, I cut them. Okay, they're cut.
Yeah.
But
But I love it when like the polish starts to like kind of chip and you've clipped your nails and
Yeah.
it looks a little...
oh, it's
it
gel
gets
polish
rough.
too. So it's like,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
on there. Just a little grown out. So
Oh my
anyway,
gosh.
enough about my toenails.
I know, man, we really just like went for it. But I'm jealous because it's been such a long time since I've like gone and like had my nails done. I feel like that's going to be something going into the new year that I want to get back into doing that a little bit for myself. Just every
Yeah.
once in a while,
It's nice.
Everybody needs a little self-care, a little sprucing. So anywho, Teresa worked as a concierge at a hotel. Chuck, who lived in the Stanwood area of Washington at the time, was visiting for an educational seminar. So it's kind of just like by chance that they ended up meeting because they live on kind of opposite ends of the country. When they met, she was already lying to Chuck, like right off the bat.
Oh no, about her age?
Off to a good start. Like that's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh my
like
God.
literally, even her name.
Wow. Why? Okay.
Okay, so let's get into it
Yeah.
because this is going to be so wild. You might have to cut that because I just feel like, am I saying wild too much?
You do say
Probably.
wild pretty
I
often.
do.
But it's just like you. That's
don't
who
know.
you are.
Because I'm wild. You should see, like, the inside of my brain is just like a monkey, like, clanging cymbals.
I literally can imagine what the inside of your brain looks like.
The monkey is also using his tail to drink a latte.
Oh.
That's the energy I bring.
And one of his feet has a glass of wine.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah, monkeys can use their feet. So,
Yeah,
like,
they
he's
can.
double fisting. Okay. She told Chuck that her maiden name was Goldstein.
Okay.
So that was prior to taking a previous husband's name, Gaethe. So she literally lied to him about her maiden name, which is like,
Okay.
that's not even your current name. Why are you lying about that?
Okay.
She told Chuck that Gary Gaethe was a stockbroker. Teresa also alluded to having been raised by a wealthy family, which was Of course, not true. She basically told Chuck she didn't work because she had to, but because she loved her job and interacting with her guests so much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Live your best life, I guess. So let's talk about this mysterious and wealthy family. I mean, what little we know, anyway. Because it seems that they were, to put it concisely, not close.
Oh.
She had 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother. Teresa's family had only met her previous husband, Gary, twice. Which totally tracks because you don't want to be bringing either Gary or Chuck around your family too frequently and have them expose what would become a laundry list of lies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they will out you.
Yeah, they know the truth. And even if they didn't do it intentionally, they might just like let something slip that they didn't even realize that you lied to this man about. It's a problem. Mm-hmm. Chuck was accomplished in terms of academics, having successfully completed a master's degree from a high-ranking Jesuit college in Seattle. He was happy in his very fulfilling career as a youth counselor and teacher at North Everett Middle School, while also working towards the necessary qualifications to become a high school principal.
Well, he sounds like a gem.
I know, right? Teresa claimed to also have a college degree, but this was likely another in a string of lies that was obviously they're starting to mount up.
Yeah.
The most stunning of her lies, at least in the early days when she was still getting to know Chuck, was that as a child, she had open heart surgery.
Okay. Weird thing to lie about.
I know. She must have known just how to read people because even at this early stage, she had already assessed that Chuck was, as his sister, who also shared the name Teresa, put it, he was a rescuer. He was a caregiving type.
Yeah. Teacher, obviously has a soft spot for, kids, so...
Mm-hmm. So, okay, now is it just me or does anyone else have a hard time finding someone with the same name as a sibling or other close family member attractive?
It's weird, but I know people who...
I mean, it happens, right? It's just a name. It's not...
Yeah.
It's really not that weird. I don't know. It's just also confusing.
Yeah, confusing.
Anyways, as I seem to say of late, but I digress. Chuck also had a reportedly well-known hedonistic side.
What does that mean?
So hedonistic is typically somebody who, it should describe an adult because it's somebody who really enjoys, pleasure in life. Most people kind of associate that with, the type of person that, is comfortable, being nude and, they, they just are, a little bit more free. Okay. We might have to go and do a little bit more of a deep dive on the definition for that and
I get it.
Insert. But
yeah. No, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of went with the things that most directly apply to Chuck. Regardless, he very quickly was under her thumb. It seems Teresa fit herself into the mold of what type of woman would be the most appealing to Chuck, and that type of manipulation can, of course, make someone all too appealing to resist. They basically just, she's pretending to be who he wants her to be.
Yeah, of course he's going to fall for it.
Mm-hmm. Chuck. So while Chuck was on his trip for the educational seminar, he spent a good deal of his free time with Teresa. He told her over dinners about his Washington lakefront home, his stable and good-paying job back home, his airplane, and vintage sports cars.
Damn.
So this may have oversold his level of wealth to Teresa at the time. He did truly have all of these things, but he had built the home himself, and both the airplane and the sports cars were older than she likely would have guessed. He lived really comfortably, but it's likely that Teresa thought his financial situation was far grander than the ultimate reality. Ironically, Cassie, you called it. Teresa also lied about her age. But in a twist, she told Chuck that she was 2 years older than her actual age.
What?
Weird, but okay.
What? That makes no sense.
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea why, but I just thought, interesting little tidbit.
In like 2 years?
2 years. Yeah, like what difference does that even make?
Like maybe I could see like, oh, I'm like 40, but you're like actually 30. And they'd be like, wow, you look good for your age. Like maybe that, but like 2 years.
Like what difference does it make?
Yeah.
I think honestly, for Teresa, a lot of the things that she lied about didn't seem like they were significant. And even when people first started to realize that she was lying about a lot of things, it didn't seem like it mattered, right? It's such a small thing, whatever. So it's something that people kind of described as like, oh, she's just kind of she tells tall tales, or she like kind of fibs, and like, oh, it's part of her charm. And I'm like,
so
she's a liar.
A literal liar.
But I think there are certain things that she either omitted or she made like a slight white lie about, that it was like she just didn't want to reveal too much of herself to anybody. Yeah.
Okay.
According to Chuck's friends, they believed their relationship was founded on the basis of mutual attraction. Because obviously that's typically the starting point of most relationships. In hindsight, it does seem likely that she may have taken a greater interest in Chuck because of some of her mistaken beliefs about his finances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All that said, when it was time for Chuck to return home after the conference, it became pretty clear that he was already enamored with Teresa. He wrote to her multiple times each day upon his return.
Oh.
And this is so precious. He sent her packages of flowers from his own garden.
Oh my goodness.
He had a green thumb, and that is just, wow. Hashtag relationship goals.
Come on. Where can I get me a man like that? I mean, I have a man.
Yeah.
I love him very much. I'm just saying.
And you guys live together, so it'd be really weird if he packaged up flowers and mailed them to you.
No, he does. Actually, he buys me flowers all the time.
Yeah.
He grows me tomatoes, so it's like the same thing. We're fine. We're cool.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Although it's nice to get a package every once in a while, am I right?
I know. Give me that package.
Ooh. Meanwhile, Teresa wasn't nearly so easily smitten, and certainly far less committed to their long-distance romance. Shocker, right?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
She continued to keep another suitor in the rotation for a brief time.
In the rotation.
Yeah, you gotta have a rotation.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. What do you call it?
I don't have a
You're
rotation.
like, I don't have I know, man.
No judgment.
How old are we? God,
So old.
we're like 8,000 years old. The man was a realtor in Hawaii that had already been in the picture for several months, so they'd been seeing each other for a while. The two had met when she had briefly stayed in Hawaii for work, and she had inquired about rental housing at his office. So some of the details are a little bit fuzzy, but here's what we do know. His name was Nick Callis, and we're going to be hearing a lot more about him.
Okay. Callous.
Mm-hmm. He didn't make a move to commit to Teresa while she was living in Hawaii or when she returned to New Orleans, so eventually the relationship kind of just seemed to fizzle.
Okay.
He went on to marry another woman a short time after Teresa told him that she would be moving to Washington.
P&W.
Nick Callis and Chuck Leonard had little in common beyond their age, both being nearly 2 decades older than Teresa.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that's why she lied about her age,
Yeah,
but
being
like 2 years, what difference does
girl.
that make? Like, you're both adults. Like,
Jeez.
I mean, both of them are adults. You're a pathological lying child.
Do you know how old she was when this was all happening? Like what?
She was 27 when she met Chuck. Nick Callis and Chuck Leonard had little in common beyond their age, both being nearly 2 decades older than Teresa. So, I mean, she's looking for a particular situation.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So she was 27. Did she lie and say she was 29? Or was she actually 25?
I believe she was 27, lying and say she was 29.
Why
so maybe
she just go 30 or 31.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you're like nearing the end of your 20s and you're wanting to date this man who's like older, maybe she thought, 29 will seem like more like socially appropriate.
But I'm still not 30.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ugh.
Anyway, okay.
Nick was a darkly handsome Greek man on the precipice of wealth, while Chuck, he cared far less for material trappings.
Because he was a good person.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you're really going to start to see some stark contrast between these two. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to speculate that she was perhaps seeking a father figure in her life.
Yeah.
You guys don't know that yet, but I do. I did the research. So,
so I'm right.
Yeah. Okay, so I already know. Chuck Leonard, like Teresa, had also been married before. His first marriage was to his high school girlfriend. And I just have to preface this by saying it's not a great look for Chuck. Okay. Because it was hardly a romantic proposal or marriage.
Uh-oh.
He fervently proposed marriage to his high school girlfriend to avoid the draft.
Oh.
In the end, all their marriage succeeded in accomplishing, it seems, was delaying the inevitable, as eventually his number did come up in the draft.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Ugh.
The couple didn't end up having children, and the marriage was eventually dissolved. Though this would not be Chuck's only romantic relationship prior to meeting Teresa, of course, but he had been single for years at that time. So when he meets Teresa, he pretty much seemed like the consummate bachelor. Until she came along, of course. Despite his bachelor status, Chuck apparently took great pride in his home and taking care of it. And like I said, he had something of a green thumb.
Aww.
He's like got a garden, and I think it's super cute.
I love that.
He's got this lakefront property. He built the house himself. Well, while Teresa, she had no interest in mucking up her nails out in the yard. She praised Chuck's home and his efforts to make it so warm and welcoming, though she probably didn't let on at how underwhelming she found it to be.
That's like the thing, like a rich person who wants like a fancy house and they're like, oh, your house is so cozy.
Yeah. I totally picture that being her reaction. She's like trying to like say words that sound nice, but it's almost like a backhanded compliment. So imagine how surprised she would have been to discover that his vintage Porsche was powered by a VW engine. So this is what we were talking about in another recording.
Oh.
Chris was schooling me on this. And I was like, okay, yeah, here's the thing. This isn't the actual engine that should have been in it. The whole point is that he was a car guy. He enjoyed spending his time rebuilding engines and the like. So it sounds like had basically taken an engine from it's a Volkswagen, an actual Volkswagen. He didn't, get and he swapped it into the Porsche. So, I mean, I don't get it, but good for him. It's definitely a cool hobby. But I got the impression that Teresa didn't know that. She probably thought it was like this, this cool vintage Porsche. And it probably was still super cool, but
yeah,
it's
not going to be vroom-vroomin' though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the VWs have some get up and go, but I have no idea like the specifics on this car. I just think it's funny because she's like, ooh, she just hears Porsche. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, like I built it myself, like one of these people is super cool and interesting and genuine. And then there's Teresa.
Yep.
The only thing he seemed to enjoy more was doting on Teresa. Gross.
Ew.
Long ago were his days as a ladies' man. He now focused on making his Southern belle, who he believed to be Jewish, happy.
Because of the last name she gave.
Goldstein.
Yeah.
Well, she also told him that she was Jewish.
Man.
Which, I mean, I get, whatever.
Did she just pick that name out of like...
I
What
don't
is
know.
the
Maybe
most
she
Jewish
just thought,
sounding
she
name?
was like, oh, well, I'm going to tell him that I'm Jewish. I came from a wealthy family. She's like, Goldstein.
Gold.
Yeah, I don't
They have gold.
Whatever.
Crazy.
She's a crazy person. So, striking pork from the menu at family occasions and even giving her cards for customs in the Jewish faith like Hanukkah.
Oh my gosh. He's the sweetest
I know!
freaking person.
And she is just such a trash panda.
God damn it.
So it just seems like a bizarre thing for Teresa to have lied about, but I guess she did tell him her maiden name was Goldstein, so maybe that just didn't seem like that much of a stretch.
It just seems like these lies are like a hassle. Like,
Right?
why? There's too many of them.
And then she had to give up pork.
They're too far off of your norm. Like, why don't you just stick to what you know? I just don't get it.
Oh, God.
It's so weird.
I know. I don't understand what possesses people to do this. That's why these are so interesting to investigate.
I hope every Jewish person is just pissed that she like stole their religion. You know?
Seriously, I mean, come on. It's kind of gross. Whatever. Whatever, Teresa. You're going to get it. We've got another promo roll that we are really excited to share today.
Oh, hi there.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Paul.
And this is Disturbingly Pragmatic. So why should you listen to us?
Because we're amazing.
Did you not write something for this?
No, I didn't write anything. I thought you wrote something.
You know what?
Listen.
Why is it on my app?
I don't know, because you are supposed to be the person who thinks of these things first.
Well, joie de vivre.
Well, whatever.
So
we're gonna sass, we're gonna gab, we're gonna talk about things.
Sexual things.
No.
Sexual things.
Sure, things like that. But things in the news.
Pop culture.
There's going to be some, pop culture.
True crime.
True crime.
Comedy. LGBTQ plus.
And we've been together for way too flippin' long.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Leonard, get off the table and don't screw up a recording.
It's fine. Our cats are joining us as well.
Anyway.
So please come listen to us.
Wherever podcasts are available, there will be like women of the evening.
Okay, I can't deal with you. Anyways, disturbingly pragmatic, and the wheezing has begun. Come listen. Bye.
Come listen.
Hi, I'm Grant.
And I'm Erica.
And we're the hosts of
From Crime to Crime, a weekly true crime podcast that covers a wide range of crimes,
including unsolved murders, serial killers, prison breaks, skyjackings, missing persons,
and John and Jane Does,
So don't forget to join us every Wednesday for a brand new
or sometimes old case.
You can find From Crime to Crime on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
You guys, we're back. Hi. In truth, it's likely that Teresa lied about much of her upbringing and her family background because of the sexual abuse that she and her sisters suffered growing up.
Oh, okay.
So not much is known about this that I could find. So I can understand, not wanting to tell him the real truth about your upbringing, but it just seems like she enjoyed lying and making up kind of unusual lies about it. So I don't love that. And I'm like, yeah, that's not super okay. I understand that obviously she has trauma in her past, but it's like, why do you got to be a pathological liar?
Yeah, that's
Not great. So I chose not to delve too deep on it for this case and add another layer of yuck to what's already a pretty twisted and sad story, in my opinion. There's not a lot out there in the various source material about that period of her life and about the specific abuse that they suffered. Teresa claimed to be much closer to her mother than seems likely. since she didn't make it back to Louisiana to visit her mother until her funeral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after she passed away from cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh.
She did not attend her father's funeral when he died the same way, which totally tracks because of the claims of abuse.
Wow.
Yikes. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't go either.
That's crazy. They both died from that, from the same thing.
Well, I mean, cirrhosis of the liver is typically associated with alcoholism.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot there. It's a lot to unpack. Does not sound like she had a very happy childhood. So sad for childhood, Teresa, but come on, Teresa, get it together.
Is Teresa her real name?
As far as we know, I didn't find anything that said that she lied about like every part of her name.
Okay. I was just curious.
It's so weird because she lied about her maiden name, which I assume probably she lied about that because it would be harder for him to like fact check that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of her lies were designed to be things that it was like either it didn't really matter so nobody was going to, or it would be more challenging to check it. She's crafty. Chuck and Teresa would marry after living together for about a year, despite the reservations he may have had about their relationship. I repeat, man has reservations about their relationship, and they go ahead and get married.
Oh,
He was this like happy bachelor, and yikes. Okay. His friends found it odd that she would regale them with wild and seemingly obviously false claims and stories, because Teresa gonna Teresa. Their reception was held at the lakefront home a couple days after their civil ceremony. What's interesting about this is none of Teresa's family was invited for either occasion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would have lots of questions. Like,
yeah. Her
who
family
am I
like
marrying?
had huge chunks of time where they had no idea where she was living, what was happening in her life. I think I'm going to touch on it later in my notes. So we might develop it a little bit further, but if I edited that out, I'll just say she literally made up a child at one point.
Oh,
That never existed. Like her family thought she had a kid that like nobody can find any record that it like this child ever existed.
okay. Wow.
So she lied to her family all the time too. It's just bizarre. All too quickly, Teresa began to alienate many of Chuck's longtime friends, as apparently she was oftentimes mean to their female companions.
Shocking.
I know. Okay. Chuck's family would echo many similar complaints. His sister, who it's worth noting had a master's degree in psychology, made her best effort to be friendly with Teresa. This was especially true when Chuck and Teresa revealed just a year and a half after their wedding that she was pregnant. Gotta get that anchor baby, girl.
Oh, no.
So Chuck had for much of his adult life been indifferent to the idea of fatherhood. Indeed, the fact that Teresa had become pregnant was a surprise, as she had lied to Chuck, claiming that she would be unable to conceive.
Oh, okay.
So that is why I say, like, I feel like anchor baby can be kind of I don't know if that's a very nice term to use, but she straight up tricked him. She was like, oh yeah, I can't get pregnant. And then she's like,
that is crazy. Oh,
not super cool. Still, it seems that Chuck took this too in stride and welcomed the idea of a child. So, I mean, at least, like, he ended up being happy.
yeah.
But it's fucked up because you don't get to make that choice.
Yeah.
That's when you should be making together. When their daughter Morgan was born, she quickly became the apple of her father's eye.
Oh.
He spent hours gazing at her lovingly as an infant. And as she grew older, he loved spending time with her outdoors.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, super cute. Teresa, meanwhile, was convinced that she never wanted to deliver another baby. I mean, hard same. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be honest, nobody's making it sound that great. At a routine visit with her OBGYN following the birth of Morgan, a small fibroid tumor was discovered. So this is kind of interesting because fibroid tumors are actually relatively common for women in their 30s and 40s. In fact, they often shrink following menopause, and Teresa had no symptoms indicating the tumor was cancerous. So though it seems there was no medical indication that this was necessary, Teresa insisted on having a hysterectomy.
Wow.
Yeah, like a hard pivot. As evidenced by the pattern so far, whatever Teresa wants, Teresa gets. Still, though, not to be outfoxed by any unforeseen situation, Teresa made careful plans regarding the surgery. So this is crazy. She had eggs harvested to be frozen and stored.
Okay.
Her surgeon also performed a partial hysterectomy at her request. Following the surgery, she would no longer be the proud owner of a uterus, but she would be left with one fallopian tube and one ovary, which would mean she would still produce enough female hormones as well as viable eggs. So this feels like a pro strategy to me because she doesn't have to worry about pregnancy or hormone replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. She would never be able to become pregnant herself, but through the magic of in vitro fertilization, also known as IVF, and a surrogate, she could have another biological child if she chose, which is apparently something that she had given quite a bit of thought. Clearly, she wasn't one to close the door entirely on anything that she might later find advantageous.
Yeah.
So this woman just always be plotting.
Yeah, for real.
Always be plotting.
Totally. That's crazy. Like, I keep saying that's crazy, but
No, but it's really bizarre because, you know, she doesn't have to have this hysterectomy, but she insists on it. But then she's very specific and pointed in how she executes it, where she, you know, hormone replacement therapy can be a really like challenging thing for a lot of women, and some end up having to do it when they go into menopause for various reasons. Obviously, she didn't want to deal with that, and apparently she wasn't ready to close the door on being able to have a baby
yeah.
in the future. She just didn't want to have to do it.
Yeah.
Which
no.
hard, same. I can totally relate.
Totally get it. But coming from her, it just feels like a giant scheme.
It does, right? It's just like, what is this giant red flag? From the outside, all seemed to be fine in their household. With her firstborn child to consider, Teresa didn't want to return to a full-time work schedule. I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of women want to be able to spend time with their children when they're young. I think that's a really nice thing to be able to do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
With Chuck's blessing, she rented a small retail space in Marysville, Washington, and opened a consignment shop. Okay. Teresa may have had some good qualities to complement her pathological line, but in my book, naming things was not one of them.
Uh-oh.
She literally called her store the consignment shop.
Okay.
Not super creative for somebody who like makes up all of these tall tales, and
Yeah.
I just thought that was really dumb.
I expect more from you, Teresa.
Yeah, like I'm looking for, I need more from you. She painted it pink and decorated the place with fashionably dressed cartoonish women. Presumably these characters had made their selections from her boutique, as she would very exaggeratingly describe it.
A boutique.
Yeah. She would describe it to acquaintances as a boutique who, no doubt, like, they didn't know any better. They're like, oh, wow, that's cool.
So, like, one of the things you would ask, oh, what's your boutique called? And you could say the consignment shop?
I mean, there are some
Like-
very nice consignment shops, but I feel like they get a little bit more, like, creative with the name.
Yeah, and like you
I don't know.
name it something so that when you're lying to people, you,
Like, it sells the lie
Yeah.
at least.
All right.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. It did seem that word spread about her shop. She took a list of wealthy clients from a previous retail gig from which to draw.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's a solid strategy. Probably not super kosher to do that, but the profits from the shop were reportedly pretty nominal. It seemed to do well enough to provide some spending money with which to allow for some extras for both herself and Morgan, who often came to work with her.
Oh,
I know, so sweet. Despite the fact that both Chuck and Teresa loved their daughter deeply, it seemed their affection for one another began to fade. I mean, it happens. Their relationship became more volatile, and Chuck worked hard to maintain equilibrium for Morgan's sake. Meanwhile, Teresa reached out to her old flame, Nick Callis.
Oh, the Hawaiian guy?
He's not Hawaii.
The guy from Hawaii.
Yeah, the guy,
Sorry.
the Greek guy who lives on
Yes.
Hawaii. I know it's kind of confusing, huh? He was doing quite well financially, and though they were both married, they continued to correspond quite a deal. Wait, that's not right. They continued to correspond a great deal.
I was going to say
I was like, quite a deal. What? He encouraged her to visit him in Hawaii. At that point, his wife was often away in California with their adopted son while she sought various medical treatments, though it remained unclear to me what exactly for.
Yeah.
It seemed like she was one of those people who, I mean, she may have had a totally legitimate illness, or she may have just been one of those people that kind of just always like didn't feel that well and was like a little bit of a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad for this woman. I thought that they were going to drop a bomb on us and be like, and she had cancer, but it doesn't seem like there was anything that was like widely reported about.
Okay.
So, but
Well-
they were living apart.
Okay. Well, she was sick
Yeah.
in another state.
With their adopted son.
Interesting that your husband wouldn't go with you, but
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, he runs a real estate firm on Hawaii, and also he's a giant dickhead.
Okay.
Chuck and Teresa's marriage continued to deteriorate, and she fantasized about moving to Hawaii with their daughter so she could pursue a new old love interest.
Okay.
Chuck, it should be noted, was no saint in their marriage, despite a somewhat glowing picture of him early on in the story. He, too, had taken a misstep into infidelity with a younger female coworker years prior.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, not great. Probably if you guys are both stepping out of your marriage, maybe it's just time to not be
Yeah.
married anymore.
Yeah.
This woman's name was Michelle Connolly. The physical relationship between the two began while Teresa was pregnant with Morgan.
Oh.
So, I mean, again, Chuck's not a saint, but, you know, their people are flawed. But, so they're both cheating on each other, though.
Jeez.
Whether one was aware of the other's actions at that time, it's kind of difficult to say. Chuck and Michelle's bond deepened, though Chuck was not interested in divorcing Teresa to then marry Michelle, as Michelle, it seems like, kind of hoped. They were cited for indecent exposure and indecent conduct.
Oh, no.
Yes,
Where were they boning?
they got caught in a car.
Oh, no.
So whether or not Teresa knew about the affair prior to that, it seems like probably she didn't, but eventually that was how for sure she would learn of the affair.
Yeah.
If she didn't know already or have an inkling, she definitely knew after that. So this didn't immediately end their marriage, though, as you might expect. They stayed together for the kid a little while longer.
Just don't do that.
I know. Yeah.
Oh.
It's not great. I feel like it's not very healthy for kids to see their parents in a not healthy, not happy relationship.
Yeah.
Not good. When the marriage did finally end, Teresa and Morgan left Chuck's lakefront home they had once shared and moved into an apartment on Everett Mall Way, which was roughly an hour away. This was in 1995 when Morgan was just 3.5 years old. Teresa contacted Nick Callis to inform him she would be traveling to Hawaii with a friend. A visit was promptly planned for February of 1995. Her friend Joyce Lilly in tow, and Nick, of course, providing the plane tickets and a place to stay.
Of course.
I know, sweet deal, right? Immediately, Teresa is plotting and planning at warp speed.
Of course she is.
She jumps about 18 steps ahead and assumed that they would marry in the near future.
Jeez.
For the next couple of years, Teresa would visit Nick in Hawaii about once a month. He not only paid for the first class plane tickets, but sent her $1,000 each month.
Damn.
I know. They were in constant contact when she wasn't visiting Hawaii, talking for hours about their children and just life in general whenever they could. Teresa filed for divorce in July of 1995, though neither her or Chuck seemed like they were in much of a hurry to carry out the process legally. They worked out a custody arrangement as the divorce seemed to be kind of at a stall. Teresa was willing to use Morgan as a pawn to get what she wanted, because
Yeah,
she's the worst.
she would.
I know. You're like, yeah, that's pretty predictable. During this time, Nick continued to pay for her visits, even providing her with a credit card.
Jeez.
Nick was content with their part-time, long-distance relationship. Though Nick had no intention to, and they had literally never discussed the possibility of him getting a divorce, Teresa, it seems, just planned to will that situation into existence. She was trying to manifest.
Yeah, she was.
She was, unbeknownst to Nick, planning to move to Hawaii with Morgan.
Oh my God. Like, hey, I just moved here.
Yeah.
What's up?
Obviously, we already know that she wanted to marry Nick. So this is despite feigning her willingness to take part in the perfect no stress, no strings affair. She also cooked up this plan. Oh my God. I just can't even with this woman. She also cooked up this plan to use a surrogate to provide him with a biological child that, had she bothered to ask him about it, she would have known that he had absolutely no interest in having.
Oh, no. Yeah, he didn't seem like... He
No.
doesn't even want to be married. Like,
Yeah, he's just not that into you,
Yeah.
Teresa. Okay, well, there's another surprise in store for her on that front. But that will be revealed in a courtroom much later.
Oh, okay.
Chuck, meanwhile, was 100% against the idea of his daughter moving to Hawaii, though he could have cared less what Teresa might decide to do. Because,
Yeah,
go
who
away.
cares?
He continued his relationship with Michelle, who was really quite taken with him. Michelle really adored Chuck. Teresa thought at the time, for whatever reason, that Chuck was dating an inappropriately younger woman, which obviously was not true in the slightest, but she was already planning. But she was already planning to weaponize that fictitious relationship in their divorce proceedings if need be.
Oh.
She was literally ready to just hurl accusations about Chuck being with a woman who is not of age.
Oh. Like
Or,
an
I mean,
underage?
in that case, a child.
Oh,
Someone who
gosh.
was not of legal age.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's awful.
But she wasn't.
No,
Like, he wasn't-
Michelle was
Okay.
definitely of age and he was not dating or anything. There was no one in his life that he should not have been dating. Just, that's awful. It's such a horrible accusation to make, especially against a father.
Yeah.
She just has there's no bounds for her awfulness. Teresa was dragging her feet on the divorce to chart out the perfect course for what she thought were perfectly laid plans that merely required precise timing to ensure the life that she was dreaming of. Unfortunately, a year of inaction on the divorce caused the Superior Court of Snohomish County to dismiss. So if you don't actually proceed with your divorce, some counties apparently are like, okay, so like you guys just have to stay married now or you have to refile.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they would need to refile if they wish to legally sever their marriage. Sadly, if Teresa hadn't been so keen to stall and Chuck hadn't been so indifferent about completing their legal divorce, he might still be alive.
Oh, no. I was wondering who was going to be the victim in this. I was like, no, not Chuck.
Yeah. No, you guys, Chuck lived a very long and healthy life, and he died of old age.
Okay. The end.
Yep. I know I said it was a two-parter. It's not.
Yep,
Just
the
kidding.
end. Bye, guys.
The end. Okay. So let's talk tarot.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of Nick and Teresa. For the relationship reading, the Hermit reverse can indicate unwelcome isolation. For example, one person may want to be alone or withdraw from the relationship while the other wants to deepen the connection. So that sounds like Teresa and Nick to me.
I think at different times and, you know, not having the full case under our belt yet, some of this may come to light a little bit more later in part 2. So we might have to come back to the tarot card in part 2 as well.
Yeah.
But I think at different points in time in the relationships that she has, you see that that's a dynamic that kind of pops up in one way or another in more than one relationship.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, with the way that she is.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, and here's the other part. I took a quick note about this. So isolation and distancing in a relationship, that was something that I specifically flagged because she's, you know, literally in a long distance relationship with Nick, right? But also think about when we talked about after Teresa comes into the picture and Chuck is this super gregarious guy. He's got a ton of really great friends. The friends were, you know, of course they believed that, you know, this relationship was because Teresa and Chuck genuinely cared about each other and there was a genuine connection. But then he kind of starts to get a little bit isolated by Teresa because she's so threatened by, you know, Chuck's friends and even like the friends' girlfriends and wives.
Yeah.
She really isolated him.
Yeah, she did the manipulation thing where you can't have any other friends. It's only me.
Well, and then early on in the relationship, remember we talked about that, you know, Chuck was kind of all in. And Teresa was sort of like, she still had Nick on the back burner. And, you know, then she ends up deciding to move to Washington. But really, I mean, she was definitely early on in the relationship. That was another long distance relationship. She definitely wasn't nearly as taken with Chuck. And she was far less committed to, you know, moving that forward. And the only reason I think, or maybe the dominant reason why she kind of ended up choosing to pursue the relationship with Chuck more seriously is that he obviously, you know, was actively pursuing her. Nick kind of had his chance, didn't shoot the shot with her. She figured, okay, nothing's really going to happen. And then he marries someone else. So I feel like this is a theme, like I said, that it kind of repeats itself throughout the story.
That's crazy. That's a cool card.
I know, right? All right. Well, what else do we got? I guess that's it. We're gonna we'll get down to part 2 here pretty quick. Keep your eyes peeled for the release of that.
Yep.
It's coming.
Unless you're Patreon and then you already have it.
You already have it. Yeah.
Then you could just skip right on over to there right after this.
Yeah, just really streamlines your listening experience. Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday.
So, for all of you that are listening, if you have any true crime or paranormal stories that you want us to share, maybe with the whole Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we would love to read them on the pod.
Yes, we will read them out loud.
Not just in our heads.
Yes. They don't have to be from the Pacific Northwest if you would like to share. Email us at pnwhauntsandhomicides@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, no special characters. Super duper easy peasy.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing as the email at PNW Haunts and Homicides, all spelled out, no special characters. Please also rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to, and check out our stories on social media because our meme game is hot.
Agreed.
And if you agree, like Caitlin, you can also find us on Patreon and support the show.
Bitchin'. In 1988. What? Oh. Do you want me to say it again?
I put chips in my mouth, and then you started, because I was like, oh, she's going to look for a minute.
Oh, I found it really fast. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. We'll probably cut this out.
Stain. Well, yeah, we probably will. We're not taking Q&A.